Welcome, everyone, to the July 22 Martin Gardner Celebration of Mind Talk. I'm very excited about today's talk because Raymond Smullyan is a personal hero of mine. And I see that the advertising slide for the talk has my favorite chess puzzle of all time on it. I do want to share one quick personal Smullyan story. I was delighted to meet him at Gathering for Gardner, as many of you have been. I asked him to autograph my copy of Chess Mysteries of the Arabian Nights. And so what he wrote in it was, "Dear Bob, I wish you the best, but I refuse to autograph your book." Signed, Raymond Smullyan. With that, let me introduce Carlos Santos, who is professor at the Higher Institute of Engineering of Lisbon. And his primary research is combinatorial game theory, entirely appropriate for G4G crowd. And he's been a vice president of the Ludus Association. And he is an international chess master as well, which is impressive. So with that, I will hand it over to you, Carlos.
So thank you for the invitation. It is a pleasure for me to be here. My name is Carlos Santos. I'm from Portugal, and the title of my talk is Planet Smullyan. So Raymond Smullyan was a mathematician, a magician, a pianist, philosopher, astronomer. So he was a multidimensional man. He was also an expert in logic, in particular in Gödel's theorem. But the most important idea for this talk is the fact that he was one of the most relevant recreational mathematicians that ever lived, having publishing many books that are masterpieces on recreational logic. The sophistication, creativity, diversity that Smullyan shows in his work deserve all the dissemination that can be done. And so here I will do my best to contribute to that dissemination. So this is a dissemination talk, and Smulyan's puzzles are the main goal of my talk. Smullyan wrote several books on recreational logic in his lifetime. I highlight the amazing What is the Name of This Book, which, in addition to the funny self-referential title, contains many fictional universes created by him. I also highlight the books based on retrograde analysis, often using chess. And about biographical notes, for this talk, I used the book Reflections. There is another very interesting book called 4 Lives. I tried to make a mysterious planet containing my favorite Smullyan magic places. For each location, I included some paradigmatic puzzles according to my personal taste. Of course, my taste is subjective, but I think it will be enough to show people who don't know Smullyan the magic in his work. In the planet, we can make quick trips from one place to another. Of course, I'm not professional in this type of gadgets, but I really think that someone should get money, make a good selection, and make available on the internet a planet where young people and adults can travel. Okay, before I land on the planet itself, I will just make a very short introduction. In fact, instead of an introduction, I will show a quote and tell 2 stories from Smullyan's life. With these stories, we can already have an intuition about his style. The quote is this: Raymond Smullyan, What is the Name of This Book, is the most original, most profound, most humorous collection of problems in recreational logic ever written by Martin Gardner himself. The first story is this. At some moment, he applied for a job. And during the examination, one of the questions was this one. The guy asked, "Do you object to telling a little lie now and then?" And Smullyan was an honest guy. He did not want to lie. But because the job was important for him, the answer was no. The funny part of this story happened many hours later, when he realized that the answer no, in fact, was not a lie, but the truth. Because, so he was thinking if he was lying or not. And because we have this paradoxical thing. If no is a lie, then no is the truth. The answer to the question influences the Boolean value of the answer. And this self-reference effect is a main idea in Smullyan's life. And it is a main idea in Smullyan's puzzles. The Smullyan puzzles are very good, in my opinion, because of this effect. About the second story, and I'm almost finishing the introduction, at some moment he met his future wife. And on their first date, this conversation happened. Let's look. He said, I'm going to make a statement. If the statement is true, would you give me your autograph? And she answered, I don't see why not. And he continued, if the statement is false, then you don't give me your autograph, okay? And she answered, okay. It's important to understand the rules of this agreement. So, true statement, autograph. False statement, she does not give the autograph. That is the rule. And now the funny statement. The statement is this. You will give me neither your autograph nor a kiss. And if you analyze, if she gives him neither an autograph nor a kiss, the statement is true. And so she must give him an autograph, and you have a contradiction. On the other hand, if she gives him an autograph, the statement is false. And because of that, she cannot give him an autograph, and you have a contradiction again. So the only way for her to fulfill the deal is to give him a kiss. You see, this is a masterpiece of a statement, okay? I will show a lot of things like this today. And of course, we should disseminate these things because this statement is a masterpiece. Okay, and he said, she had to give him nor her autograph, but the kiss, and so they married for 48 years. Now let's land on the planet. So in my planet, Smullyan travels in a balloon. And the planet is like this. This is the planet with lots of strange places. So let me just put this. So we can travel in a fast way. Now, first, let's visit the classic island of knights and knaves. First, we have to know the population. Only after the knowledge, we can think about the puzzles. And the populations, we have knaves that always lie, knights that always tell the truth. It is impossible to distinguish knaves from knives. So I will use this cartoon. This guy can be either a knave or a knight. Let's start. My first example is this one. So I made a selection with easy puzzles, sophisticated puzzles, and so on. I have to be fast. I will show some things, only to show how different can be Smullyan's puzzles. So in this puzzle, we have this conversation. Mr. A says, all of us are knaves. Mr. B says, exactly one of us is a knight. And the puzzle is the goal of the puzzle is to determine the natures of these three inhabitants. Of course, it is possible to use a truth table to analyze this puzzle. First, we list all possible combinations of natures. In these columns, T is for a knight and F is for a knave, and F is for a knave. For instance, in this line, this T means that Mr. A is a knight, Mr. B is a knight, Mr. C is a knave. Now, for each combination, we have Boolean values of the statements. For instance, in this second statement, if Mr. A is a knight, with this sentence This statement is false. We can have the complete table, and we have a self-reference effect. Why? Because the Boolean value of the sentences are the nature of the characters who say the sentences have a direct connection. And a sentence is true if and only if the character who say the sentence is a knight. And on the other hand, a sentence is false if and only if the character who say the sentence is a knave. The only combinations compatible with the statement are these ones. Observe that in all three, A is a knave and he is lying. And then the only one out of these three that is compatible with the statement B is this one. Observe that B is a knight and he is telling the truth. And so this is the solution. But now this is the last time we will look at the truth table. Because in fact, and that is an important thing again, more than truth tables, Smullyan shows straightforward, elegant arguments. So he does not want an exhaustive analysis. He wants deduction, and that is the funny part of this, of all these things. So Smullyan has a clear, precise, concise, humorous way of presenting the solutions as well. Not only the puzzles, but also the solutions. And in addition, sometimes he proposes interesting discussions. He shows many solutions when a problem has more than one, several points of view. For instance, in this puzzle, we can think about this without truth tables. First, A must be a knave. Why? Because if he is a knight, then it is true that all are knaves. And because of that, A is a knave too. But we cannot have A being a knight and a knave at the same time. So A is a knave, and because A is a knave, this is false. And because this is false, there is at least one knight among them. Now that we know that there is at least one knight among them, suppose that B is a knave. If B is a knave, then we have A and B knaves. And so C is a knight because there is at least one knight among them. But this means that B's statement is true, and that cannot be. So B must be a knight. And if B is a knight, his statement is true. And so there is exactly one knight among them. And so we have C, and C must be a knave. Okay, this is the type of things that we can find in Smullyan solutions, much more beautiful than exhaustive thinking. Okay, let's visit other places. For instance, let's go to normal land. Let us visit the normal land in order to meet more characters. The population. We have knights again. Knights always tell the truth. Knaves again. Knaves always lie. But we have normal people. Normal people as in real life. Because normal people sometimes lie and sometimes tell the truth. So this is the new thing that we have in this place. Again, we cannot distinguish them. Let's look at one puzzle. For instance, this one, number 17. The puzzle is like this. The conversation is like this. So we have three people. One is a knight, one is a knave, and one is not. And the conversation is like this. I'm normal. That is true. I'm not normal. What are the natures? Again, in Smullyan style, we have things like this. A is not a knight. Why? Because a knight would never say that he is normal. Because a knight always tells the truth. So A is a knave or A is normal. But suppose that A is normal. If A is normal, then B statement is true. Sorry, I have problems with my pen. Then B statement is true. So B is a knight or normal, but B cannot be normal because A is already normal because we are supposing that A is normal. So B is a knight. This leaves C a knave, but a knave cannot say this sentence because this sentence is a true sentence. So we have a contradiction, and this is impossible. So we have A, a knave. Then B statement is false. No, so B must be normal, and C is the knight, and that's it. And then what he does is he has all types of characters. For instance, let's go to Bahava Island. So in this island, we have women that are also knights, knaves, and normals, but the important thing is this one. A knight can marry only a knave. A knave can marry only a knight. And a normal can marry only a normal. We have these guys. And now look at this. In this puzzle, there is a couple having a violent fight. And the violent fight goes like this. My wife is not normal. And she replies, my husband is not normal. That is why I said we have humor in Smullyan's puzzles. The puzzle again is what are the natures of Mr. and Mrs. A. Mr. A cannot be a knave because then his wife would be a knight and so not normal. And so Mr. A's statement would have been true. And by symmetry, A cannot be a knave. And so neither is a knight or the other one would be a knave. We have lots of symmetry in this puzzle. This puzzle is very symmetric. So they are both normal and they are both lying. Okay, let's go to a totally different place now. I have to go more fast in order to show more interesting things. Let's go, for instance, to this place, the forest of forgetfulness. Okay, in the forest of forgetfulness, we can meet the Lewis Carroll characters, but with some peculiarities. So Alice forgets the day of the week. Often Alice forgets the day of the week. We have a lion that lies on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. We have a unicorn that lies on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So they both tell the truth on Sundays. We have Tweedledum and Tweedledee, and one of the two is like the lion, lying on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, and the other is like the unicorn, lying on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But Alice does not know which one is like the lion and which one is like the unicorn. They are twins. She cannot distinguish them as well. Also, maybe they have a brother, Tweedledoo. People say that he always lies, but nobody knows if Tweedledoo exists. And now this is the place. Now that we have this place, let's look how funny puzzles can we find here. In this puzzle, Alice follows a conversation between the lion and the unicorn. The conversation is like this. Yesterday was one of my lying days. Yesterday was one of my lying days too. So what day is it? The thing is that we can use a table. Lion lies on Mondays. The lion lies on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. The unicorn lies on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And the only days that lion can say, I lied yesterday, is on a Thursday, and he is saying the truth, or on a Monday, and he is lying. On the other hand, these two are the only compatible days for unicorn, exactly by the same reason. And the intersection is this one. So the only compatible possibility with this conversation is Thursday. Another very interesting thing. For instance, this one. In this one, she finds her friends Tweedledum and Tweedledee. And this guy says, I'm Tweedledum. And the other, I'm Tweedledee. And this is a puzzle. That is why these things are really masterpieces. This is already a nice puzzle, this conversation. The idea is which one is really Tweedledum and which one is really Tweedledee. Observe that we have in all puzzles, we have this type of self-reference effect that makes this work in a funny way. So if the first statement is true, if this statement is true, that is because this guy is really Tweedledum. And so this is also true, and this is Tweedledee. On the other hand, if this is false, that is because this is not Tweedledum. And then also this is not Tweedledee. So here both statements are false. Again, symmetry here. Either both statements are true or both statements are false. There cannot be false since the brothers never lie on the same day. So the solution is, it is Sunday, both statements are true, the first is Tweedledum and second is Tweedledee. Nice and short. Let's visit more places. For instance, this one is very interesting. Everything here, we can find these places in the books. The first one has already several places like this. This one is, I like this one very much. On the island of zombies, there is a linguistic issue. Let us see the linguistic issue. So the population, half of the inhabitants are zombies and the other ones are humans. Exactly as in Knights and Knaves plays, zombies always lie, humans always tell the truth. And again, like in Island of Knights and Knaves, it is impossible to distinguish humans from zombies. So I will use this guy. Now, and that is the new thing. They always use their native words. That is a rule. They always use their native words. And bal and da mean yes and no, but we don't know which means yes. So maybe bal means yes, maybe bal means no, and same thing for da. Let's look at one puzzle. And the puzzle goes like this. Smullyan asks this guy, does bal mean yes? And look, this answer, this is really, really elegant. This answer is already a puzzle. the guy answers bal, and now we already have a nice puzzle. And the puzzle is this one. Is he a zombie or not? And again, we can argue with this. Suppose bal means yes. If bal means yes, this is true. To the question about the meaning of bal. So in this case, the speaker is human because the human is the guy that tells the truth. On the other hand, suppose bal means no. If bal means no, this is true again. Okay, and so we have a human speaker again. And so this is enough to know that this guy is human. So he is not a zombie, he is human. Again, a minimalistic puzzle. Very minimalistic. For instance, let's look to other very minimalistic puzzle. This one. This is a different type of puzzle. We can call this a sounding question puzzle. The idea, the goal of the puzzle is to find a good question. So a good question in order to find what bal means. So here we don't have a conversation. We have several Smullyan puzzles like this one. What we want to find is a good question. I have no time because I want to show more things. This is a solution. I have no time to explain why this question works. As an exercise, I leave you the understanding task, but I observe how cute and short the puzzles on this island are. The answer is short, everything is short and good. Okay, let's travel again. Let's go to Arabian Nights. If we compare with the places we have seen before, the Arabian Nights is very different. There we can think about retrograde analysis. I will show just one example, but believe me, there are puzzles here that I will never forget. So fun, sophisticated, and deep they are. So I have chosen only one example to show the diversity of this guy. So the characters here. We have Al-Rashid, that is I will assume that we know the chess rules, or either I have no time, okay? Al-Rashid is a white chess king. Olaf may be a black or a white knight. Gary a white pawn. Archie a white bishop or a black bishop. And let's look at this puzzle. This thing. When I was young, my brother had these books, and I had a good time thinking about these things. I'm a chess player, as mentioned before. And in fact, we are lucky because we can understand what this guy is doing. So this puzzle inspired the first slide of this talk, okay? It's a beautiful thing. This is a beautiful thing, all this. Okay, so let's go. Rashid knows secrets of magic. Don't forget that Rashid is the white king, okay? Now, he knows the art of invisibility. He can stand in one of the 60 empty squares of this board. But nobody can see him for the simple reason that he is invisible. And the puzzle is this: on what square does he stand? And the key to understand this puzzle is to understand how is it possible for the white bishop to give this check. The question is, what might the previous moves have been? That is why this is retrograde analysis. We must think about the previous moves. And if we think a lot about this, a person who knows chess, after thinking about this puzzle, can understand that it must have been something like this. The position was like this, check, the other guy protects, this pawn captures en passant, and now we have this check. And so this is the place where Rashid is. This is a minimalistic puzzle with only 4 pieces on the board, but there are amazing playing proofs in these books that we really should disseminate this thing. So let's travel again. I will show only one example. So, and let's look at the example 73. This one. Each casket was made by Cellini or Bellini. Every time Cellini makes a casket, he puts a false statement close to that, near the casket. On the other hand, whenever Bellini makes a casket, he puts a true statement there. So the puzzle is like this. We have this statement here, this statement here, and this statement here. And the goal of the puzzle is this one. One casket has a dagger, avoid the dagger. And I have to observe, because in order to emphasize that these puzzles are really different, I observe that the goal of the puzzle is not to find the dagger. The idea is to avoid the dagger. That is a totally different thing and makes the puzzle more funny. So suppose that this is Cellini. If this is Cellini, this statement is false. If this is false, this casket is empty. Now suppose that this is Bellini. If this is Bellini, this is true. Suppose now that this is Bellini again. If this is Bellini again, this is false and this is impossible because Bellini cannot put a false statement near his casket. So suppose that this is Cellini. If this is Cellini, this is true, and we have a contradiction again, impossibility again. And so we cannot have Bellini here. We must have Cellini. This is false. And so here is the dagger, and this is Bellini, because at most one of these caskets was made by Bellini. And everything is fine with this. This is a possibility. On the other hand, suppose that the first one is Bellini. If the first one is Bellini, this is true. If this is true, the dagger is here. Now, that makes this true. But if this is true, this is Bellini again. Now this statement is false because there are two Bellinis. So this is Cellini. And again, this is also possible. This is a possibility. Everything works fine. And now the puzzle. Because there are two compatible possibilities, in the first one, the dagger is in the second, and in the second one, the dagger is in the first. In order to avoid the dagger, we have to choose this casket. An elegant puzzle, very elegant. Almost all are very elegant. Let's go to this island, the island of questioners. Okay, here, the inhabitant, this is already, do you see? In my opinion, this is already interesting. The inhabitants never make statements, they only ask questions. And the thing is that the type T only asks questions whose correct answer is yes. And the type F asks only questions whose correct answer is no. And it is impossible to distinguish the inhabitants. I have used the cartoon with Riddler of Batman comics. What kind of puzzles we have here? Let us see a very elegant puzzle again. This guy asks, is Ethan and I both of type F? And if we think, we can determine the type of Ethan. The thing is that suppose that John is T. If John is T, so the correct answer to this question is yes. But if the correct answer to this question is yes, that would mean that both should be F. And we have a contradiction because this is T. So John must be of type F. But if he is of type F, the correct answer to this question is no. But if the correct answer to this question is no, it is not the case that they are both of type F, and so Ethan must be of type T. We have, again, all types of things like this here. I also like a lot this place. In fact, I cannot show all the places, but let's look at one more or two more. There is one that is really different. That is this one. I cannot remember now, but I think that Smullyan only proposed this place in one of his books. It's a very interesting place. The place works like this: is perhaps the island of robots is the most bizarre place we will visit today. Let's understand the population. So we have robots, and each robot has a string of capital letters. And a string of capital letters is like this: Q, L, X, and H. This is a possible robot. Now, and that is the funny part, a string is also a program. And we have only, this is again the minimalistic style of Smullyan. We have only 3 or 4 rules. It is, in fact, this is recreational computational thinking. Is computational thinking in a recreational way. The string is also a program, and the rules are like this. If we have key and the string, this key names this string. So let me show an example. If I run this program, this Q names this guy. Only that. Rule R: if this guy names this, if I put an R there, now this thing will make 2 copies of this. So R as in the word repetition. So let's look at an example. Let's run this program. This program works like that. I read from left to the right. R, Q. This Q names this guy. Okay. And now, because we have R here, we have 2 copies of this. The third rule is like this. If this guy names this thing, if I put a C here, now this creates a robot with this thing, with this string. Okay, so let's look at an example. Let's run this program. I go, this Q names this guy, but now because I have a C before the Q, this thing happens. And we have the creation of a robot with this string. Last rule. If this creates this, if I put a D here, this thing destroys all robots with this string. Let's look at an example. Let's run this program. Okay, let's go. We go, and this Q names this guy. Because I have a C and a D, now this thing will destroy all the robots with this string. Because there is this guy here, this will happen. And with these 4 rules, we are able for very interesting puzzles, minimalistic puzzles. It is really recreational computational thinking. So let's look at, I cannot resist. Let me show 2 puzzles. Because the statement of the puzzle is already funny. Can I find a robot X such that X creates X? So he's a robot that is able to copy himself. We can feel again the self-reference effect in these puzzles. So the thing is, this is the solution, okay? The solution is this string. The idea is to find the string. What happens is that I go. This Q calls for this. Because I have an R there, I have a repetition. And because I have this C creates a robot with this string, and this thing happens. And now I have a copy of the robot. For instance, another one that I like a lot in this place. You see, these puzzles are very different. In a way, you must think about the programs. Look at this. Smullyan, if I remember well, Smullyan called this a suicidal robot. The suicidal robot captures the idea of self-reference again. Can we find an X such that X destroys itself? For instance, the solution for this puzzle should be like this. This is more difficult to find. When I run this program, I go, let's run from the left to the right. I go so this Q names this. Because I have this R, now I have two copies. And now this DC will destroy all the robots with this string. But this guy has this string. So what will happen is this. Okay, let me just, okay, I will finish with one more place, okay, because I think I have 45 minutes. So let me visit just one more place. I like also this guy, Transylvania. Okay, here we have humans and vampires. Exactly as knights and knaves, vampires always lie and humans always tell the truth. But now, and that is the funny part, we have sane humans. This is about belief. So we have sane humans, sane vampires, insane humans, and insane vampires. And the rule is, if they are insane, all propositions they believe to be true are false. And all propositions they believe to be false are true. So we, for instance, in the case of vampires, we have a double effect. Because if we have an insane vampire, because he believes in a thing that is not true, he tries to lie, but he cannot. So an insane vampire tells the truth. So what happens? It is impossible to distinguish again. So what happens in this place? I have to jump some parts here. What happens is that the only ones who make true statements are sane humans or insane vampires. Insane vampires because of the double effect. And the only ones that make false statements are insane humans or sane vampires. And the thing is, let's look at one I like, because the puzzle is this. Okay, the puzzle is, this guy says, I'm insane. When this guy says I'm insane, we already have an interesting puzzle. In fact, the question is, what can be concluded? And we think, if the sentence is false, we have an insane human or a sane vampire. But this cannot happen because if he is insane, the statement is not false. So if the sentence is false, that's because this guy is a sane vampire. On the other hand, if the sentence is true, we have a sane human or an insane vampire. And again, it is impossible to have this and this at the same time. Because the sentence is true. If the sentence is true, it cannot be sane. So we have an insane vampire. So what is for sure true is that this guy is a vampire. And we have all kinds of puzzles here, etc., and so on.
So thank you, Carlos. That was a delightful tour, and it's too bad we.
Yes, it was a tour. This is only a dissemination, okay? But yes, this guy should be. I think someone should have a project to build a thing like this, but with good graphics, not my graphics, okay? With a good thing, okay? In order to let people travel, because there are maybe 15 or 16 places with all kinds of things. And there are much more sophisticated things that I did not show because this is a dissemination talk. So
yes, also his wonderful works on philosophy and Taoism, and yeah, he was an amazing philosopher. So we do have a few questions. Peter Rowlett asks, if I were to buy one book to get started with Smullyan's logic puzzles, what would it be?
I think the first one, what is the name of, because that one already has maybe 8 places that I showed here. So I think there we can find the rules of his universe, I think.
Yeah.
There is one that is about logic puzzles based on Go. This one I cannot answer because I don't know.
No, I'm not aware of any either. That would be interesting. Also retrograde, the chess problems that we see, or retrograde analysis. I'm not aware of any retrograde analysis.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
There is a puzzle. So about chess, I only showed that that minimalistic one. There is one of Sherlock Holmes that is totally amazing. It's like a playing proof, but the playing proof has maybe 20 steps. You see, he must make a deduction with 20 things. It's to find if a piece in H4 is okay. So it's amazing. But I could not show because either I would spend maybe 15 minutes showing that. But it's an amazing thing.
So Glenn asks, is there a guide anywhere online as to which locations appear in which books?
Yes, I think chess is a much more appropriate game for retrograde analysis, because we have bishops on light squares, bishops on dark squares. If the pawns are in the original squares, the bishops are closed, for instance, and the rooks are closed. We have the castle rule, we have the en passant rule. Because Go has a more minimalistic set of rules, it's not so good for, if we want to build a very sophisticated retrograde analysis position, I think it's much more difficult with Go. I think chess is much better. Yeah. Even checkers is not so good, because chess has a lot of details. The rules are not straightforward. Is there anyone who has continued? There are a lot of problems with the similar style. We can find, for instance, I think there is one in Recreational Mathematics magazine that is the hardest logic problem ever. So there are people thinking about these things, and it is in the island of zombies with the ball and da setup. It's a crazy thing. So there are a lot of problems invented by different mathematicians with Smullyan style, I think. So there is a question here that is there a guide anywhere online as to which locations appear in which books? Is not easy to find. That is what I'm saying. We should have someone with a project in order to build a viable website, a funny website with a big, large selection of puzzles and with the environment. It would be very good. It would be a very good dissemination work, I think, in order to organize this.
It's a technical question about normals from Adam Atkinson. In at least one book, Smullyan says normals can say anything. Does that mean they can also make paradoxical?
Yeah. There are puzzles. I did not show here again because this is a dissemination thing. But there are puzzles with that type of hard things. like not paradoxal, but really logical systems. So there are things in, I have one in my planet, that in order to understand the puzzle, we must understand logical systems and things more sophisticated that we can. It's not easy to put this in a talk, but we can find in his books high-level puzzles. High-level puzzles.
Question from Don Knuth. So
Yeah.
I think you could maybe enumerate the number of puzzles within a certain set of constraints. Probably we would find that Smullyan had hit on the best ones, but it's an interesting question.
Yes, it's an interesting question. I have to think. It's an interesting question, but I'm not able to answer now.
Yeah, there's a sort of a meta issue there, I think, of how these puzzles are created, right? If you can imagine, you know, when I sometimes design puzzles and I use computer assistance, and I will sort of, exhaustively enumerate the space of potential puzzles and have some sort of, analysis algorithm that says this one is better than this one. One could imagine doing the same sort of thing here, potentially, that maybe that's sort of what Don's question is getting at. But I've tried my hand at retrograde analysis puzzles, and it's very challenging to come up with a good puzzle. I came away much more impressed than I was after. If you read these puzzles and they're wonderful, and you think, oh, I want to make one like that. It's really hard.
Yeah. No, but there are some. There is one, as I said, there is one with, I don't know, 20 steps. I was thinking about how he invented the puzzle. That Sherlock Holmes puzzle, my favorite Smullyan's chess puzzle is a puzzle in which there is a piece in H4, but we don't know what piece is. And it is possible to prove that that piece must be a white bishop. But the way Sherlock Holmes makes the thing in order to prove that the thing is a white bishop has maybe 20 steps. It's amazing. Okay, and I wanted to know how he invented the puzzle. Because it is not trivial. 2 or 3 or 4 steps is a thing. 20 is a different thing. Okay, so but I could not show that. Yeah, but that is my favorite. I will never forget that puzzle. It's a completely incredible thing. Okay, that is not in Arabian Nights book, is in Sherlock Holmes
and my favorite is the one you showed, the cover of Arabian Nights.
That is for a chess composer is the best
very
one.
Minimalist, concise.
Minimalist, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That Sherlock Holmes thing could not win a tournament of chess studies because it has a lots of pieces.
Yeah.
But anyway, that thing is incredible.
Thank you again, Carlos. That was a wonderful, highly entertaining talk, and hopefully those who have not experienced Smullyan's books here now have some more impetus to go out and find them. There's a whole world of discovery there, lots and lots and lots of fabulous books. Bye-bye.
Bye.